Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing a project to replace this. And this is the igniter from our KitchenAid oven. This is a universal igniter. It works on all different kinds of oven models. They're not very hard to replace, they're not terribly expensive, and it costs a heck of a lot less than calling the appliance repair guy. So I'll put a link to the description, or in the description, to where you can buy one of these on Amazon, and I'll show you the process. It probably only took me, I don't know, maybe a half hour or so to do the whole thing. So here we go. After you slide your oven out, you're going to want to make sure that your gas is turned off. So turn your gas off and then unplug the oven from the wall. Next, go up top and just open one of your burners to make sure the gas is bled out of the system, and then turn the burner back off. The back is going to have a panel, and it's going to have screws like all down the sides and probably a few across the bottom. So just undo all of those screws, and then after you've removed all of those screws, the back panel should just kind of lift off and you can put it off to the side. Now, working our way around to the front, we're going to be working on this top oven. This is a double oven setup, and the one that's burnt out for me is the top oven. So if you open the oven, we first want to remove the, let me zoom in here a little bit. We're going to remove the oven rack. So grab the oven rack and set that up out of the way. And then you have this kind of burner cover, and you want to get that up and out of the way as well. And now this particular oven has these two like metal plates. Let me see if I can zoom in a little more there. There's these two little plates, and these plates are covered, or held in place by that little screw there, or it's a little wing nut. So if you just undo that wing nut, go ahead and get that unscrewed and pull that up out of the way. Now you can pull this little plate off and just kind of note the orientation. That's the little hole there. And then this lower one is also just going to lift up out of place the same way. And just note the orientation so when you go to put it back in, it's correct. Okay, now looking here in the back, you can see the igniter itself. There's the igniter, and then there's a little mounting bracket for the igniter. It's held on by these two screws, and it's just held on the top there. So what we want to do is remove those two screws, and then we can move the igniter off to the side out of the way. For this one, I'm just going to use a regular number 2 Phillips, and go ahead and loosen both of these screws up and pull both those screws out. And then once both of those screws are out, the igniter is just going to slide up and out of the way. I do want you to note these two white wires that you're going to see sticking off the back. Those are going to head back through to the back of the oven. Now, moving back around to the back, you can see a whole bunch of wires here. I'm looking for those two white ones that are coming from the igniter. If I move the camera down here, I can see daylight through that hole, so I know it's right there, and so it looks like it's these two wires here, and I can feel that that igniter's loose through there, so I know I've got the right wires. So this is the plug I need to undo. I'm just going to go ahead and unplug that, and now that should be loose where I can pull it back through the front of the oven. Alright, back here in the front, I've got the wires loose, but I've got this whole plate thing here, and it's a lot easier to get these wires out with this out of the way. You could do it without, but it's a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the burner itself, and it's actually a lot easier than you'd expect. You got to get this one screw out here, and then the burner, which has the bracket attached to it, it kind of just like slides to the side and lifts up out of place. So it just takes a little bit of fiddling, and then it goes out there. You can see there's a little spot in the front where it slides in place. And now I've got easy access to that hole where I can go ahead and pull the wires through along with that connector that we undid in the back. So we're all ready to go replace it with these two wire nuts. Okay, I'm going to be replacing this with basically the exact same version of this one that I got on Amazon. This is what the package looks like, and I'll put a link to it in the description. One thing I want to note is that if you're pulling out your stock igniter, it's not going to have those wire nuts. I have wire nuts on mine because the first time I did this, I had to cut the connector. It's that end connector. I had to cut that off of my stock igniter and splice it onto the replacement igniter. So now I'm just going to basically replace them exactly as they are now. So I'm going to start with the right wire, undo the one off the old igniter, and wire nut that to the new igniter. So I'll see if I can do all this hopefully without poking myself with some of these wires. These are kind of sharp and kind of stiff. But anyway, I did the right wire first. Now I'm going to go ahead and wire the left wire so that they're now wired exactly the same. I'm going to twist those all together with the wire nuts. The last thing I need to do on my particular oven, these igniters have two metal tabs, and the one on the bottom needs to be bent up out of the way in order to fit my oven. So I'm just bending that out of the way. All right, we're ready to start reinstalling everything. So I'm going to start with the burner assembly that I took out. We just want to slide that back into place. Make sure you get the front in the little slot where it goes. And I just want that little hole to line up where the screw goes. So now that that screw hole is lined up, I can go ahead and put the screw back in. And so the burner is in place, and now I can mount the igniter to the little bracket that is built onto the side of the burner. So I have those two screws. Obviously having a little trouble with my camera focus, so I apologize about that. But I think you guys get the idea. We're going to go ahead and put those two screws back in place. So thread both of those in. Again, I'm using a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, and it holds the screws on pretty nice. So you don't want to drop them down inside the oven, obviously. And now that that's on, we are ready to start putting everything else back in. So that lower tray is going to slide on that little bolt there. And then that second tray is going to go back on just like we took them off. And then the wing nut gets tightened back down. So tighten that all back into place. And then we're going to put the burner cover and then our oven tray or oven rack, and we are ready to go in the back. On the back side, it's pretty easy. You can find the two wires that you shoved through from the front. There's our little connector, and go ahead and plug it back in where you unplugged it before, and you're ready to go ahead and test. Don't forget to turn the gas back on and plug the oven back in. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. Make sure the gas is turned back on, and then head around to the front. All right, I'm ready to go ahead and fire up the oven. So let's hit bake and start and give it a minute and see what happens. All right, I gave this about a minute or so to start heating up, and I stuck my hand in there and I can definitely feel it getting warm, so I know it's working. And in fact, over here on the side, if you maybe get the camera down there, you can see the flames underneath the flame shield there, whatever that thing's called. Anyway, looks like we are good to go. And now let's go back around to the back and start buttoning up the back of this so we can slide it all back into place. These back panels can definitely be a little bit finicky, so just do your best to try and get everything lined back up how it was, and then go ahead and make sure you put all the screws back in place so that back panel is nice and secure, and then you're ready to slide it back into place where it goes in between your counters. All right, just shimmy this oven back into place, and with that you are good to go. Everything is done, your oven is working, everybody's happy. So thanks so much for watching. If this was helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me make some more fun videos to hopefully help you guys out. So take care, have a great day.